Hello everyone, I am Dr. Mukundavani, Head of the Department Chemical Engineering from Anurag Group of Institutions. Today we discuss about some of the basics of thermodynamics. Let us go for the scope of thermodynamics. Before that, what is thermodynamics? Thermodynamics stems out from the Greek word thermi, which means heat, and dynamics means power. So thermodynamics is a subject that deals with energy and its transformation. Energy in the form of heat and power and its transformation to different forms of energy. Thermodynamics subject as initially born in the 19th century only to describe the operations of steam engine, but later on its scope has expanded to various other fields like chemical, mechanical, metallurgical, aerospace, etc. So thermodynamics is based on the four laws, basically zeroth law, first law, second law, and third law. All these laws have no proofs to be proved, but the validity lies in the absence of its contrary experience. That is, there are no experiences which will say that which will contradict the laws of this thermodynamics. So different textbooks have given the definition of thermodynamics in different ways. A few of the definitions have mentioned here. Thermodynamics is a fundamental subject that describes the basics governing the occurrence of physical processes and also establishes the relation between the different physical properties that can be affected by this process. And some other textbooks say define the thermodynamics in this way as engineering thermodynamics is a subject that deals with the study of the science of thermodynamics and the usefulness of this science in the design of each and every process, device or system involving the effective utilization of energy and matter for the benefit of mankind. But what is the limitations of this thermodynamics? This thermodynamics does not establish the rates of the chemical reaction or the physical processes. Whether a specified change will actually take place in a reasonable period of time or not is not explained by the laws of thermodynamics. Generally, the rate depends upon the driving force and the resistance. So, driving force is a thermodynamic variable, but resistance is not. So, the rates of chemical reaction, whether that particular process takes place or not, is not the scope of the thermodynamics. Thermodynamics still remains a powerful and universal tool. So we can view the thermodynamics subject in two ways. One is the macroscopic view and the microscopic view. What is macroscopic view? A certain quantity of matter is considered without the events occurring at the molecular level being taken into account. So whatever the thermodynamics that we deal is under the macroscopic scale. That is, we don't go into the deep into the molecular level. And overall we will be seeing that also called as the classical thermodynamics. The system can be specified with the properties that can be directly sensed or measured. Example, pressure. So in this macroscopic view, we also call it as a classical thermodynamics, which will not take the molecular level into account. Whereas in case of microscopic view, we analyze the behavior of the quantity of matter from its molecular action. It is also called as statistical thermodynamics. That is, in macroscopic view, we take overall at a larger scale, whereas in a microscopic view, we go into the molecular level and we consider what is actually happening within the molecular level, and is also called as a statistical thermodynamics. So before we go into the deep into the subject, we have to understand certain terms. One is system. What is a system? System is a certain quantity of matter or region in a space on which the attention is placed or study is conducted, and it is bounded by the boundary. And what is a process? If a system experiences change in the state, then it is said to be a process. The process can be either physical or chemical. Say, for example, reaction or distillation. So if you take a reaction, if you take a reactor, the reactor we call it as a system, and whatever the reaction that is taking place in the system, we call it as a process. So process can be either physical or chemical. So the types of systems, we have different types of systems: open system, closed system, and isolated system. What is a before that, what is a closed system? Closed system is that only energy transfer takes place between the system and the surroundings, but no mass transfer takes place. Example is atmosphere, inflated balloon, batch reactor. Say for example, if you take a batch reactor, initially we charge the system with the reactants and we allow the reaction to take place, and during this particular process no mass is entering into the system or leaving out of the system, but energy transfer can take place. So closed system is that system where there is no mass transfer taking place between the system and surroundings, but energy transfer can take place. And what is an open system? Open system is that where both the mass transfer and the energy transfer can take place. So for example, if you take any continuous system or any pump or compressor or turbine or any plug flow reactor, we term it as an open system where the mass transfer takes place into the system and out of the system, and also the energy transfer can take place. Say for example, if you take a plug flow reactor, the reactants continuously enter into the system and the products continuously leave out of the system. So during this process, mass is entering and leaving out of the system. Along with that, associated energy is also entering into the system and leaving out of the system. So in case of a closed system, only the energy transfer can take place but no mass transfer. But in open system, both energy and mass transfer can take place. And if you go for an isolated system, neither energy transfer nor mass transfer can take place in an isolated system. Say for example, if you take a thermos flask filled with some hot liquid or hot water, no mass is contained inside the system and no mass can enter into the system or leave out of the system. Similarly, no energy can transfer between the system and the surroundings. We have different types of boundaries and their interaction. Open, all the interactions are possible, that is energy and mass interactions are possible. In case of closed boundaries, only matter cannot enter or leave out of the system, but energy can enter and leave out of the system. Semi-permeable, only certain species can be entered into the system or leave out of the system. Similarly, if you go for an insulated one, heat cannot enter or leave out of the system. And if you consider rigid one, mechanical work cannot be done on the system. And if you go for an isolated, no interactions are possible, that is no mass transfer nor energy transfer can take place between the system and the surroundings. And what is surrounding? Anything other than the system, we term it as surrounding. So whatever the system, apart from the system, whatever is anything extra from that system, we term it as surroundings. So everything apart from the system is termed as surroundings. More practically, we can consider the surrounding as the immediate neighborhood of the system, that is a part of the universe at large with which the system effectively interacts. And what is a universe? Universe, both system and surroundings together, is called as universe. And system and surroundings are separated by a bound layer which is called as a boundary layer. What is a boundary? Boundary is nothing but it is a layer which separates the system and surrounding, and it is called as boundary. It can be either physical or imaginary, rigid or movable. So the system and surrounding is separated by a layer called boundary, and this boundary can be either physical or imaginary, rigid or movable. So if you consider a beaker in which a block of gold is dipped into it, gold, if you consider the block as our system, the remaining else will be the surroundings. And what is a control mass system? So control mass system is that system where the mass of the system is fixed, but its quantity and identity, that is no mass interaction across the system takes place, but there may be energy interaction. That is, in a control mass system, the mass and identity is fixed. That means mass interaction cannot take place, whereas the energy interaction can take place. If the system is defined as certain quantity of matter. And what is a control volume system? Generally, the control mass system is used for closed system, and control volume system is used for the open system. Control volume system is that system where the volume is fixed, that is, the volume occupied by system is fixed. Boundary of control volume is called as control surface, that is, the control volume system is separated by the surroundings by a control surface. So energy in control volume system, energy and mass transfer can take place. As I have told you, it can be applicable for the open system. So energy and mass transfer can take place. And if the system is defined as where the system is defined as a region or space. So in the system, if in an open system, we consider a space and we define it as a system, and that fix the volume, and that volume is called the volume occupied by a system is called as fixed. It's fixed. So it is a controlled volume, and the controlled volume system is separated by the surroundings by the control surface. And in this, mass flow in is equal to mass flow out for the steady state control volume.